20,000 people filled Madison Square Garden that night. Millions watched on television across the world. Hundreds of reporters surrounded the ring with cameras flashing. Over 50 cameras captured every angle of what was supposed to be the greatest fight in boxing history. But none of them saw it. None of them witnessed what Muhammad Ali saw in round 11. None of them understood what really happened when the greatest fighter in the world almost gave up. Madison Square Garden, March 8, 1971, 11:47 p.m. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and sweat. 20,000 voices screaming as one. This wasn't just a fight. This was history. Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, the fight of the century. Two undefeated champions. Two men who hated each other. Two warriors who had promised to destroy one another. And now in round 11, it looked like Joe Frazier was keeping his promise. Muhammad Ali was dying in there. Not literally, but close enough. His body was breaking down. His legs weren't responding. His arms felt like concrete. Every breath was agony. Every movement sent shock waves of pain through his ribs. Joe Frazier's left hook had just exploded against his jaw like a sledgehammer meeting glass. The sound echoed through the arena like a gunshot. Ali's legs buckled. His vision blurred into a kaleidoscope of lights and faces. The crowd became a wall of noise he couldn't separate or understand. Down he went. One knee touched the canvas, then the other. His gloves pressed against the mat, the white canvas stained with drops of his blood. Red on white. Defeat painted in crimson. The referee was there immediately, standing over him, arm raised, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ali's head was spinning. Blood dripped from his nose onto the canvas. He could taste copper in his mouth. Thick, metallic, the taste of defeat. His ears rang so loud he couldn't hear Angelo Dundee screaming from the corner. Couldn't hear the crowd. Couldn't hear anything except that high-pitched whine that meant his brain had been rattled too hard. This was it. The comeback was over. 3 years away from boxing. 3 years fighting the United States government. 3 years of being called a draft dodger, a traitor, a coward. 3 years of death threats and FBI surveillance and destroyed reputation. And for what? To come back and get destroyed by Joe Frazier? To prove everyone right who said he should have stayed retired? To end his career flat on his back, broken and humiliated? Ali tried to focus, tried to find something to hold on to. Some reason to get up, some spark of will, some memory of why he'd fought so hard to get back here. That's when he saw it. A shadow, dark, small, moving at the edge of the ring. At first he thought his vision was playing tricks. The punches had scrambled his brain. He was seeing things that weren't there. But the shadow didn't disappear. Ali blinked hard, shook his head. The referee was at 7. The shadow was still there, still moving, still approaching. Ali pushed himself up, not because he wanted to continue fighting, but because he needed to see what that shadow was. He squinted through the blood and sweat. The shadow moved closer, becoming clearer. It was coming from the corner, near where his team should be, and then it stepped into the light. The overhead spotlights caught it fully, and Ali's heart stopped. It was a child. Not a shadow, not a hallucination. A child, right there at ringside in his corner. Inside the ring where no child should be. Ali froze. His body was on its knees, but his mind had gone blank. A child, 8 years old maybe, bald head completely hairless, no eyebrows, skinny arms like twigs, big eyes too large for the small face, hollow cheeks, pale skin. The kid wore old clothes, torn pants with holes in the knees, a dirty white t-shirt that had been white once but was now gray. No shoes, bare feet on the canvas, bare feet that shouldn't be there. The referee reached 8, But Ali couldn't move, couldn't look away. The child stepped closer. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, bare feet making no sound, moving with eerie grace, too smooth, too fluid, like floating rather than walking. Now the kid was right there, right in front of Ali. So close Ali could see his face clearly, every detail, every feature. And that's when Muhammad Ali's heart stopped completely, because he knew that face. He knew those eyes. He'd seen them every day, in every mirror, in every reflection, in every photograph from his childhood. The child was him. It was Cassius Clay, 12 years old, from Louisville, Kentucky, from 1954, from the night his bicycle got stolen, from the night he walked into Joe Martin's boxing gym, from the night he said, "I'm gonna be the greatest fighter who ever lived." Ali's legs started shaking, not from Frazier's punches, from something deeper: fear, confusion, recognition. The referee was about to call 9, but Ali couldn't hear him. The crowd had vanished. The arena disappeared. Everything faded into nothing. All he could hear was the child's voice. Young, clear, strong, with that Kentucky accent he'd worked so hard to lose. "You made me a promise, champ." Ali's eyes widened. His mouth fell open. He tried to speak, but no words came. The crowd was going insane. 20,000 people screaming, but Ali heard nothing except that voice. That impossible voice from his past. "You said you'd never quit. You said you'd be the greatest. You said nobody would ever make me feel weak again. You said you'd protect me. You said I'd never have to be scared again." Was that a lie, champ? Was everything you promised me just words? Ali tried to speak. His mouth opened. His lips moved. No sound came out. Just air. Just silence. The child took another step closer. Now he was kneeling on the canvas face to face with Ali. Eye to eye. 2 versions of the same person separated by decades. The child's eyes were wet, not crying, but close. "I trusted you," the child said, his voice cracking. "I gave you everything. My dream, my hope, my future. I gave you my promise that I'd be somebody, that I'd matter, that I'd make people respect me. And you're just gonna quit? You're gonna give up? You're gonna break the promise we made?" The referee's hand was coming down for 9. But time had stopped for Muhammad Ali. He wasn't in Madison Square Garden anymore. He wasn't fighting Joe Frazier. He wasn't the heavyweight champion. He was 12 years old again, and his entire world was falling apart. Ali's mind exploded, not from the punch, from the memory crashing into the present like a freight train. Louisville, Kentucky, summer 1954. The memory hit him like another left hook. 12-year-old Cassius Clay was riding his bicycle through his neighborhood. His pride and joy, red and white, shiny, beautiful. His father had saved 6 months to buy it. 6 months of overtime and sacrifice. That bike meant everything: freedom, independence. He didn't have to walk anymore or ask for rides. For the first time, Cassius could go wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. That bike made him feel powerful, important, like somebody. One Saturday afternoon, hot and humid, Cassius rode to the Columbia Auditorium downtown. There was a bazaar, the Louisville Home Show, free popcorn and candy for kids. He parked his bike outside with dozens of others, went inside, spent 2 hours eating popcorn, playing games, laughing. The best afternoon in months. When he came out, the sun was setting, the crowd thinning. Cassius walked to the bike rack. His bike was gone. He stood there staring at the empty space, stared at other bikes still locked safely, stared at the chain he'd forgotten. His stomach dropped. His chest tightened. His eyes started burning. No, this couldn't be happening. Cassius ran around the building, searching desperately. Up the street, down the street, in the alley, behind the building. Nothing. Gone. Someone had stolen it. His beautiful bike, his father's sacrifice, his freedom. Gone. He sat on the curb and cried. Not quiet tears, big heaving sobs that shook his whole body. He cried for his bike, for his father who worked so hard, because he felt stupid, because he felt powerless, because someone took something from him and he couldn't do anything. Because he was just a kid, just a weak, helpless kid. A white police officer walked past. Officer Joe Martin, a big man with kind eyes. He stopped when he saw Cassius crying. "What's wrong, son?" Cassius looked up, tears streaming, snot running. "Somebody stole my bike. My daddy bought it and somebody stole it." "Who took it?" "I don't know. But when I find him, I'm gonna whoop him. I'm gonna beat him up so bad." The anger in Cassius's voice surprised even himself. He'd never felt rage like this, never felt this combination of helplessness and fury, never felt so powerless yet so desperate to have power. Officer Martin didn't laugh, didn't dismiss him. Instead, he looked at this angry, crying 12-year-old and saw something: potential, fire, determination. "You better learn how to fight first," Martin said seriously. "Where do I learn that?" "I run a boxing gym, right downstairs in this building. Columbia Gym. Come by tomorrow. I'll teach you." The next day, Cassius walked down those stairs into the basement, into a world he didn't know existed, into his future. The gym was small, low ceiling, exposed pipes. One ring in the center, heavy bags hanging from chains, the smell of sweat and leather and determination. 6 boys were already training. Officer Martin handed him old brown leather gloves, worn, cracked, smelling like decades of sweat. "Let's see what you got, kid." Cassius put them on. They were too big, heavy, awkward. He walked to the heavy bag, stood in front of it, didn't know what to do, so he just threw a punch. His first punch ever. It landed awkwardly. His form was terrible. But something happened when his glove connected. Something clicked inside him. It felt right, like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. He threw another, better, more power, and another. The bag swung. His arms were tired, but he didn't care. He kept throwing, faster, harder, putting all his anger into every punch, all his frustration, all his pain. The bag became the thief. The bag became everyone who made him feel small. The bag became his weakness, and he hid it, and hid it, and hid it. 1 hour later, his arms felt like they'd fall off. His shoulders burned, his hands hurt. But he didn't stop, couldn't stop, didn't want to stop. Officer Martin finally pulled him away. "Kid, you got something. I don't know what it is yet, but you got something special." Young Cassius looked up with eyes no longer crying, eyes that were bright, fierce, determined, his chest heaving, his body shaking, but he felt alive, more alive than ever. "I'm gonna be the greatest fighter who ever lived," Cassius said, not boasted, stated, like it was fact, like it was inevitable. Officer Martin laughed with adult amusement at a child's big dreams. "That's a big promise, kid." Cassius didn't laugh, didn't smile, didn't show doubt. "It's not a promise to you. It's a promise to me, to the kid whose bike got stolen. I'm promising I'll never feel weak again, never powerless again, never let anyone take something from me again. I'm gonna be so strong nobody can hurt me. Nobody can make me cry. Nobody can make me feel small. I'm gonna be the greatest." That's not a dream. That's a promise. Madison Square Garden, back to 1971. Ali was still on his knees, the referee's hands suspended in air, about to come down for 9. Joe Frazier convinced the fight was over. Angelo Dundee screaming himself hoarse. But Ali was somewhere else. He was 12 again. Making that promise. The child spoke again, stronger now. "I'm still here, champ. I never left. I've been with you every day, through every fight, every championship, every moment. I'm still that kid from Louisville. Still that boy who got his bike stolen. Still that boy who walked into Joe Martin's gym with anger and tears and a promise. Still that boy who swore he'd never be weak again. And I'm still waiting for you to keep your promise. The promise to me, to us, to who we were before the fame, before Muhammad Ali, when we were just Cassius, just a scared kid who wanted to be strong. Ali looked into the child's eyes, his own eyes from decades ago, and something broke inside him. Not his body, his fear, his doubt, his excuses. Everything shattered. He realized something profound. All these years, all the fame, all the money, all the championships. He'd forgotten why he started. He'd thought the promise was about being famous, about proving something to everyone else. But that wasn't it. The promise wasn't to the world. The promise was to that 12-year-old crying on a curb, for that kid who felt powerless, who felt weak, who felt like nobody. That kid made a promise, and Muhammad Ali had almost broken it, almost quit, almost given up, almost let that kid down. The child smiled, sad, knowing. You're not fighting Joe Frazier, champ. You're fighting for me, for every kid who feels weak, for every kid who gets knocked down, for every kid who needs to believe you can get back up, that you keep your promises, that you're strong even when everything hurts. I don't care if you lose this fight. I care if you quit. If you break your promise, if you give up on me, please don't give up on me. Ali's hands clenched into fists, the referee reaching for his arm, ready to wave it off. But Ali got up, slowly, painfully, every muscle screaming, every nerve on fire, blood still flowing, vision still blurred. But he got up, because he'd made a promise, and Muhammad Ali kept his promises. The referee stepped back in shock. The crowd exploded. 20,000 people roaring. The building shook. Joe Frazier's face fell. Angelo Dundee was crying, actually crying. Ali stood, legs shaking, face bloodied, body broken. But his eyes were fire. He looked at the child one more time. The child smiled, proud, grateful. Thank you, the child whispered. And then like smoke, he was gone. Ali turned to face Frazier. Joe Frazier, the undefeated champion who dominated the entire fight. Ali raised his gloves. Ready? Because now he wasn't fighting alone. He had that 12-year-old with him. That kid who refused to stay down. That kid who promised to be the greatest. The bell rang for round 12. Ali fought the final 4 rounds like a man possessed, not with anger, with purpose. Every punch for that kid. Every time Frazier hurt him, he thought about that kid who got his bike stolen, who walked into a gym, who made a promise, who refused to be weak. Ali lost that night. Joe Frazier won by decision, first loss of Ali's career. But something else happened in round 11, something only Ali understood. After the fight, reporters surrounded him. Ali, what happened in round 11? Ali smiled, bloodied but smiling. I remembered something. What? A promise I made a long time ago? They never understood. Years later, June 2016, Phoenix, Arizona. Muhammad Ali was dying. Parkinson's had ravaged him for 30 years. His wife Lonnie held his trembling hand. Ali whispered something. She leaned close. What did you say? His lips moved slowly. The promise. I kept it. The kid with the bike. I kept it. Those were his final words. Days later, Lonnie found a letter, hidden in old photographs, dated March 9, 1971. It read, In round 11, I saw myself, 12 years old, and I realized I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for that kid who felt powerless, who made a promise to never be weak again. I might lose fights, but I'll never break that promise. Because if I do, that kid dies, and I can't let that happen. That's my real fight. Muhammad Ali. Sometimes the hardest opponent isn't in the ring, it's looking back at you, 12 years old, asking, Did you keep your promise? Muhammad Ali could answer yes, and that's why he was the greatest. Not because of his record, but because he kept his promise. To a kid, to himself, to the person he was before the world knew his name. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, but never forget the kid you used to be.